I'm going to be honest, after last episode, I had some doubts, shall we say, about the tactical system. Then this game happened, and suddenly I think I like the 4-2-3-1 again. Yes, folks, how is it going? And a warm welcome back. Welcome back to Prem. It's Wanderers FC. Today, two fairly big games. Chelsea, Real Madrid. The 4-2-3-1's been doing business, albeit against weaker teams. Today, we're going to test it against two giants. Now, of course, at the end of last episode, the transfer window was still open. It slammed shut. Nothing happened. Yeah, didn't spend any money, didn't sell anyone either. And instead, we just decided to focus on what we know, and that is playing football, and playing football pretty well by all accounts. He played through 2 months of football. After the disappointment of the start of the season with both draws against Tottenham and Fulham, we bounced back well. As you've already seen, we did beat Newcastle 7-1. Prior to that, 4-1 win against Brighton was a really good result. Jonathan Banks opening up the goal scoring in this game, and so far, he's looking like he might be worth the money. Yeah, 5 goals, 3 assists, 7.51 rating for him at centre attacking mid. He's been very, very good. We rounded off the month of August with a 4-0 win in the EFL Cup, and we kept another clean sheet as we took on Wolverhampton Wanderers away from home. Banks on the score sheet yet again. And well, as for the Champions League, little bit of a mixed bag. We opened things up with this game here against FC Copenhagen. We had a massive, massive attendance for this game. Much better second half performance after a slow first half. And the thing to note here is that we made £1.4 million in ticket revenue off this one game. Prior to this game, our previous record was £900,000. So far this season, we've played 6 games at home, and as you can see here, that is equated to £9.7 million. Last year, we made £24 million across the whole season. I mentioned last episode how I feared we might be losing money this year compared to previous years because of the wage increases. I'm kind of thinking at this point, maybe the ticket revenue is going to kind of eclipse that, and it's not going to be a worry after all. Anyway, we did scrape a win against Leicester 1-0. Maybe that was a little bit of foreshadowing, as taken on Feyenoord in the Champions League. We lost 1-0. Yeah, a penalty, the difference maker in this game. Their goalkeeper got man of the match. It was just kind of one of those games. To be fair, when you look at the team I played, it was a very rotated starting 11. Maybe I'm guilty of underestimating Feyenoord just a little bit. What it does mean is, with 1 win and 1 defeat in our first 2 games, today's game against Real Madrid would be quite a good one to win. The good news is, though, we have had back-to-back 3-1 wins in our 2 most recent league games. The first against Everton, Andy White with 2, Banks doing the business against his former club. And then against Brentford, Dorrington being a weapon from set pieces was the name of the game. A 3-1 win in this one. Dorrington grabbing 2 goals in this one. He has 4 goals in 7 games so far this season already. It's weird, right? Because I want to look at this recent form and say, wow, we've really turned a corner here. But the reality is, we've taken on Leicester, who are at the foot of the table, twice. We've taken on Wolves, who are down at the bottom of the table too. And whilst Newcastle was a decent little test that we passed really well, the reality is we've not taken on any of the big dogs yet. Chelsea and Real Madrid today are going to be exactly that. In terms of our Premier League position, we're actually in a really good spot. Tottenham have a game in hand, which if they win would put us 3 points behind us. We are the only unbeaten team in the Premier League. We've won our last 6 in a row. We're going to look to keep that form going in this game. And well, I almost have a little bit of a chuckle because I don't know if you've spotted what I've spotted. Nicky Meredith right now is the top goal scorer in the Premier League for Everton. It's quite funny, isn't it, really? But all in all, it has been a really, really good start to the season. Of course, we've been playing this more attacking setup, and you can see it's worked quite well. Chris Barrett, 6 assists, 3 goals to his name. Banks with 5 goals and 5 assists. Andy White with 5 goals of his own as well. And Bernard Brennan, I've actually been playing out on the right-hand side of midfield, and he's been playing really, really well there as a right midfielder. You can see as an inside forward, 7.34 rating. Yeah, the experimentation's very much paying off. But this game today is going to be a bit more of a test. Chelsea, historically in this save game, have been a bit of a questionable team, I think it has to be said. They've got a media prediction of 8th. Their current league position is 11th. This is definitely the kind of game we should be winning. And yet, I'm very wary of the fact they have got a little bit of quality in their ranks. In terms of team news for today's game, Lloyd Weston, you can see here, is carrying an injury. Probably shouldn't really even be on the bench in this game. Elsewhere, Sean Steele has had a solid start to the year. A few goals, a few assists on off the bench. His actual development has been remarkable. The 20-year-old is a man who I need to give first-team football to. I think he could be great. Sadly, as you can see here, fitness test not required, but coming back from injury. Not that he would have started anyway, but I'll be a little bit more wary about bringing him on off the bench. And elsewhere, Akena twisted his ankle, has missed a few weeks of football, which is a little bit of a shame because he had a solid start to his time at the club. It does mean that for today's game, he's on the bench. You can see he did a fitness test, or rather, he didn't do a fitness test. It's not required. Again, maybe I should be wary about giving him too many minutes. When it comes to the starting 11, though, it is, I think, the exact same starting 11 that featured, with the exception of Wallace, in the game's last episode. The only difference is that we've kind of shuffled around Barrett, White and Brennan. But this has been a setup that's been working. Of course, Chelsea are running the two Carlos Eduardos yet again. One of the most confusing aspects of modern football, the fact they have two Brazilian defenders with the exact same name. Chelsea for this game are also playing a 4-2-3-1, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that and how we match up against it. I feel like after the lack of goals against Fulham and Spurs, I was very close to kind of disregarding this system. But then when we scored 4 against Brighton and 7 against Newcastle, I thought, well, maybe it's a personnel thing. Maybe it's just that change in system, tactical familiarity, players needing to get used to the new roles I'm calling upon them to do. I'm going to hope in this game here we can see the goals continue to flow. So far, 30 minutes in, nothing's happened. But maybe, just maybe, that is going to change here. Flood, Brennan, Ajaria battling well. Hatswell across, tries to pick out Barrett. Loose pass, it has to be said, but the ball is given up to Banks, who, well, I mentioned he's been a bit of a revelation. He got his opening goal of the season, of course, against Fulham in a live com last time out. Could he turn provider here? Brennan, looping header denied by Costa. I talked about last episode how I like the inside forwards to be quite good in the air. It was one of the rationale behind having Andy White in the wide area. That kind of header there is a good example of it. Sometimes, you know, if you have inside forwards who are good in the air against smaller fullbacks, they can really bully them. Well, speaking of bullying defences, I thought Andy White was going to rise highest and head it goalwards. He did head it goalwards technically. It was off target, sadly. Okay, Wallace, obviously in the team today for Benito Lloyd-Weston, who's injured. He's going to throw it into play. Flood at the edge of the box, shoots. I'm not sure what possessed him to shoot from there, but it did kind of nearly work out. Only a few minutes left of this first half. I'll be honest, not exactly been a classic. 1 shot on target in this game so far. 0 for Chelsea. And yet, well, maybe they could score with their first shot on target in the dying embers of this first 45, because Lavia is bringing it forward for them. Thomas in the midfield lays it. Banks puts in half a tackle and wins it nicely. Dorrington steps out with the ball and lays it into Banks, who finds himself in a pocket of space. Wide to Barrett now. The 50 cal plays it forward in the general vicinity of Andy White. It was a loose pass, but Ajaria manages to win the ball back for us. And now it's Brennan, a beefy, meaty man in the wide area. He's like an elephant who's learnt ballerina as he does twinkly movements. And while Barrett probably should have done better with the finish there. The keeper's kicked it wide. He had the whole of the left side of the goal to aim for. Barrett, who missed that opportunity, is now going to be the man over the corner. He's going to whip it the way of Dorrington. It's cleared away, and Rodrigo is going to relieve the pressure for Chelsea. It's 0-0 at the break. We ended that half as the better team. I'm going to tell the players to keep playing as they're playing, and the result will come. Barrett is on a 6.4 rating in this game. You know what? I'm going to shuffle things around just a little bit. Shawnee Steele, come on down. Said I didn't want to rush him back into the team because of his injury, but when you look at his development and how good he is now, it'd be wrong to deny an opportunity in a game like this where someone isn't really performing. Pretty happy with that first half on the overall balance of play. Naturally, as the home team, I want us to win this game. Maybe the XG's a tad on the lower side. Maybe I'd like to see us creating that little bit more. But from a defensive point of view, I'm going to try and find the positives. Chelsea have done nothing. Sadly, we're doing very little too. Already an hour into this game. 20 minutes into this half. I feel like I've got to change things up further. Andy White, get on the front foot. Brennan, I want you on the front foot as well. I'm going to change Wallace and Ajaria, I think, to just supporting roles rather than attacking. And I'm going to bring in some fresh legs. Kobe Mainu in at Segundo Volante. In the rest of the team, Andy White's been poor on the left-hand side today. Obviously, I don't really have that left attacking mid. That is the ongoing issue I'm facing. Banks has been poor, but he's got the quality to kind of change this kind of game on off the bench. I'm going to bring in Ikenna. I mean, part of me wants to bring in Sheldon, who I have been training to play at left attacking mid, for Andy White. You know what? Andy's been poor today. I'm going to go with the double change in the wide area. Ikenna and Sheldon, very pacey, physical players. Going to ask them to play that more attacking role and duty as well, so they should get a little higher up the pitch. I'm going to shout some encouragement at the players as well. Good body language response. Now can the players we brought on make something happen? Dorrington wins a header. Kura battles for it. Ajaria knocks it to Ikenna. The number 11 keeps it alive. Lovely little run. Tackled nicely and in a bit of an alleyway of, well, danger, but he manages to do well to get the ball into the middle via Kobe Mainu. Banks has scored. There's a VAR check here. I think this is going to count. The sub's linked up nicely. If it does count, it's one of those moments where you make tactical changes and it feels like they just work. The good news for us is the goal is going to count. I kind of mentioned Ikenna was in this dangerous area here. He ran into the corner. Didn't really look like he had a pass, but he managed to pick out Mainu. One touch inside Banks. First time into the bottom corner. gives us the lead. I've just noticed Gavin Wallace has picked up a knock. Branthwaite on you come at left back. I'm going to just play him at a fullback on support rather than an inverted wing back. I don't feel like he's the man capable of inverting. Definitely deserved that goal on the balance of play. From a defensive point of view, we've kept Chelsea so quiet in this game, which is great. But until we get a second goal, or maybe even the full-time whistle goes, I'm not going to count my chickens yet. This game is not necessarily over. All it takes is one lapse in concentration, one moment of madness, and we could find ourselves all even. Hopefully that's not going to happen here as Kenner plays it towards Banks, who chests it down, falls to Sheldon, cutting inside, his shot deflects in. I'm not going to complain. It's 2-0. That should be that. It's a testament to our attacking talent that we bring in Kenner, we bring in Sheldon, and they link up and are involved in this game here. Great finish by Sheldon. I think it would have ended up in the back of the net anyway. Regardless, it's 2-0. Now we can relax. Or can we? Because Addons got injured. I'd have another sub. Who do I play in goal? I mean, this is going to seem really stupid. Who is the tallest player? They've got to play in goal for 3 minutes. The tallest player is Branthwaite. Who would I play at left back? That doesn't really work. But the next tallest player is Sean Steele, who's 6 foot tall, who's not a defender. Right, Mainu can play right back. I'm going to have to cut here. Banks is going to move deep. Mainu goes to right back. Ajaria goes to left back. And Branthwaite goes in goal. I think that's the best way to deal with the situation. And I'll be honest, it looks like an absolute mess. I'm going to put the fullbacks on defend here. I'm going to tell Banks, actually, to play a more defensive role. Same as well with Flood. Let's just try and see out this game. We're down a man. They've changed their shape as well. There's 8 minutes of added time. That makes me scared this is a serious injury to Anson. And if it is, Salmon might just be the big man who we have to call upon in goal. We win this game 2-0. That is the least of my concerns right now. It's a good result, don't get me wrong. It allows us to extend our lead at the top, which is looking mighty impressive already. What's the Anson injury situation? Fractured wrist. I mean, I've got to send him to a specialist. Wallace is out for a few days. He should be back for the Real Madrid game. What it does mean is, in the goalkeeping department, Shea Salmon, who came for our youth intake many, many years ago, is going to make his first ever appearance for us, and he's going to make it at home against Real Madrid. I mean, no pressure, mate. Okay, well, you know what? We've got one win on the board. I feel like there's a little less pressure now to get another. I need to rest up a whole load of players here. We've got a game in 3 days. It's against Real Madrid. Shea Salmon is going to be our goalkeeping hero, I hope. He hates important matches. That bodes well. Don't go anywhere. Well, let's be honest. Not having Anson for this game, not exactly ideal, but we got a win, and now I'm going to hope we can repeat it again in this one. In terms of team news, I actually really don't want to shake up things too radically. I am thinking about trying Andy White on the left-hand side as an inside forward again. To be honest, he did have some of his better performances so far this season in that part of the pitch. As for Barrett, I've been playing him through the middle. 2 goals, 3 assists. When you look at it there, really this is the way I should be configuring the team based on form. I use this analogy a lot. I feel like at the moment I've got a Rubik's Cube, and there's definitely a right way to organise all these players in the team. I've just not quite figured it out yet. Probably should just fill out the rest of the bench here for this Champions League game. Lloyd Weston is back and fit enough to play if I want to play him at inverted wing-back. But to be honest, so far this season, he's been a tad disappointing. To be fair, it's not like Gavin Wallace has been much better, but he's not been getting some regular starts. I feel like, given our start to the year, the only area where I'm now thinking, maybe I need to change things is the inverted wing-back. It might be that I look just to mirror things with a fullback on attack on the left-hand side. Besides that, though, this team is not really changed from that last game against Chelsea. We had 3 days of rest. Obviously, I'm going to hope that Banks can turn up big in this one here. Branthwaite's on the bench. Maybe he comes on against his former club. We know Real Madrid are going to be good, but with home advantage and a really good winning run at home, I'm got optimistic for this one, which might just be delusion, but I'm still optimistic. I did see a few comments about Schmitz, the centre-back I wanted to sign once upon a time, who went to Real Madrid. I did look at him in the summer, had no interest in joining me, sadly. And when you look at him, he is a very, very good centre-back. I'm just not sure he's worth £140 million. It's quite a lot. Anyway, let's see what we can do in this game here. We had a really good defensive performance against Chelsea, which was particularly pleasing. I'm going to hope we can do more of that here, but with Real Madrid having the likes of Mbappe and Bellingham and Vinny Jr. and Tchouameni still in their ranks, it's going to be a tough day today. It really puts into context 11 years in the future, the fact that so much of Real Madrid's team is kind of very resemblant of what it is in real life, just how incredible their team is in real life. Ajaria is hopefully going to break them down, though, for us. Brennan, Hatswell, Wallace! That's why I didn't play Benito Lloyd-Weston, because I knew Wallace would score a goal like that, obviously. It's like Wallace heard that I might think about getting rid of the inverted wingback. The inverted wingback here just sneaks in at the edge of the box. You can see lurking away on his weaker right foot. Pokes it in past Coble. I've just noticed, have they got Evan Ferguson up front? That is an interesting one, isn't it? Vinny Jr. on the right, Mbappe on the left, Evan Ferguson up front. Who am I to judge? You know what? I was about to praise the players because we've taken the lead. I'll hold off doing that praise until we see what becomes of this. And with Mbappe in the wide area, cutting in on his right foot, you know, you have to be a little bit scared. It's whipped across. I've joked about Evan Ferguson. Imagine if he'd scored there. Now I'll shout praise at the players. Green, happy, smiley faces. Half an hour played here. They've not had a shot on target yet. Ajaria with the throw-in. Gives it back to Brennan. Hatswell back to Brennan. Lovely build-up play. Brennan inside. Brennan in off the post. The big meaty winger puts it in, and it's 2-0 suddenly. Maybe it's going to be one of the biggest blessings ever that he didn't go to Man City for £100 million in the summer. He cuts in. It's a bit of a clumsy finish, really. The keeper gets a hand on it, but it wasn't enough. It trickles across the line, and it counts. Real Madrid with a throw-in in the corner. I mean, right now, they look a little shell-shocked, dare I say. It reminds me a little bit of the game where we beat PSG 3-0 a couple of years ago, and it could go from bad to worse. Barrett scores. He's offside. It probably should have been free. Barrett could have easily stayed onside there. There is a VAR check. I know what's happening. I think you know what's happening as well. The goal is disallowed. Less than 10 minutes left of this first half. Really, really good performance. I feel like this is reinforcing the idea in my mind that this system can work. Maybe we were just unlucky with the game's last episode. Maybe it was just a case of a new system and players needing to get to grips with it. We look pretty darn good, if I might say so myself, in this game thus far. Dorrington, drifting into a little wider area here, goes all the way back to Shea Salmon. I forgot Shea Salmon's in goal. We've not really seen him in action. He's played the ball out nicely there. Andy White dropping in deep, gives it to Banks. Barrett, lovely build-up play, lovely finish. That one is going to count. It's only his 4th goal of the year. He's had many more assists. And that, I mean, 3-0 against Real Madrid at home. What do you want to say about it? From the back to the front, Banks and White working nicely here to create a little bit of space. Barrett threaded in behind, onside on this occasion. No mistake with the finish. I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit worried that having struggled last episode, not winning, and then winning a load of games off camera, I'd come back for 2 difficult games, and the players would just kind of poo themselves and, you know, they just wouldn't turn up and stage fright would kick in. What we're seeing here is what I've seen over the last month. This is a team that can beat anyone. Of course, saying all of that, it is only half-time. And when you look at Real Madrid's attacking talent, they probably are capable of turning around this kind of game. They've got players of real quality. So we can't afford to take our foot off the gas here. Schmidt, who I wanted to sign, gives it forward to Bellingham. Baba, caught in possession. Andy White cutting inside, gives it to Banks. Tried to pick out Barrett. Banks gets back on the end of it. Impossible angle. Hits the woodwork. It was very nearly 4 minutes into the second half. Ajaria here with a throw on the near side. At the moment, it doesn't seem like we want to lift off the gas. We don't want to give up. We just want to keep bullying them. Brennan battling away. Mbappe goes all the way back to Coble. To be honest, Real Madrid have been trying to play out from the back, and it's not really been working for them thus far in this game. They've been giving the ball away and leaving themselves open. Of course, saying all of that, maybe this will be the one time where it actually works out in their favour as Camavinga lays it across to Jude Bellingham. Through the middle, back to Camavinga, Ferguson, Mbappe. Lovely one-touch passing by, Real Madrid here. Whipped to the back post. Jude Bellingham's there. Ashley Phillips gets it away, but only as far as Baba. The right back cuts it inside. Vinny Jr. smashes it in. He runs with purpose to fetch the ball out the back of the net. It might not be done yet. Real Madrid knocked the ball around really nicely here. I did wonder if we could maybe catch them on the counter as that header, looked to get away from danger. But Baba kept the attack alive. It's actually deflected in the end, past Salmon. Don't think the keeper can be blamed for it. It's a 2-goal game. Maybe I've celebrated too soon here. An hour played. I was thinking about making some changes, but we'll wait and see what becomes of this attack. Ajaria. There should be an Andy White in the middle to aim for. There was. It's cleared away to Wallace. He already has one. Could he get another? He cuts inside. He goes on his own. It falls to Banks. It's 4-1. Scratch those ideas of changes. We don't need to change anything. We spent some insane money to bring Banks to this club, and I'll tell you what, he is rewarding that faith that we've put in him. He is popping up with goals as a shadow striker. Just as a reminder, natural at striker, natural at centre mid. He's only actually accomplished at centre attacking mid. It's not a position he's really played much in his career. he's kind of making it a position of his own. With 20 minutes left in this game, I'm going to make some changes. I've been training both Sheldon and Ikenna to play on the left-hand side of the team. They're both kind of picking it up slowly but surely. I'm going to play Sheldon out on the left in this one here and give him some game time. Mainu's going to come in for Flood, who's not had the greatest of games, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, I almost don't want to change things too radically here, but at the same time, it does feel like an opportunity just to bring in some fresh legs at 4-1 up. You know what? Steele, Sheldon, Ikenna. Let's see what our backup front three can do around Banks. On the one hand, I'm really happy about this result. Mbappe, don't ruin it. Thank you. On the other hand, we have over the last few years really just kind of glided through the group stage of the Champions League with the expanded format with relative ease, consistently finishing towards the top and finishing in that top 8. So as good as this kind of result is, and it makes me feel good, warm and fuzzy, I'm kind of reminding myself in the back of my mind, it's all about the knockouts for us. We should be making it to the knockouts of the Champions League. I'd like to think, even with the bottling against Feyenoord, we should be targeting a top 8 finish. Certainly when you look at performances like this, there's no reason why we can't finish right there towards the top. Banks inside. Hatswell goes down. It's going to be a penalty, I think, to make it 5. Yeah, for as good as this result is, and don't get me wrong, I'm really going to enjoy it. It's not the knockout stages, is it? VAR check, penalty, I'm going to assume is going to be given here. It is indeed. It'll be Banks, if I'm not mistaken, over it. In fact, no, it's not. It's Sheldon. Sheldon's not normally on the pitch, so Banks has been taking them. And Sheldon, on off the bench, find the back of the net. No. You know what? He can't. I know this doesn't take effect for now. Banks is taking penalties from now on. I know he missed in the shootout last episode. He's been scoring some in the league for us. Bit of a shame that we couldn't make it 5-1, but you know what? 4-1, still a pretty blooming good result against Real Madrid, if I might say so myself. Banks, a goal and an assist. Man of the match in this one, justifying that big fee we paid for him. Still a little bit annoyed that we ended up losing against Feyenoord, but you know what? If we can win the games that we should be winning between now and, well, the mid-January period where the last couple of games are played, we should be still in the top 8, I'd like to think. Jonathan Banks, man of the match. Give him some praise. Salmon, what a debut. What a debut. 22 years old. He's waited a long time for that. I'll level with you. He didn't really have much to do in that game there. Now, in terms of when we're going to be back next episode, last episode I was floating the idea of maybe doing Arsenal or Man City. Given how the league table is looking right now and the fact that Tottenham and Newcastle might be our big rivals, it might be that we come back for something like the Tottenham game around Christmas time. There's a little while between now and then. Things could change, but on the face of it, that feels like a good time to come back. Anyway, folks, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. 2 absolute bangers of matches. Great result against Real Madrid too. We'll be back tomorrow to end the week with another daily dose of Park to Prem. Appreciate you guys watching as always. It's me, Jack, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.